Hey guys, today I want to talk about some common issue you might be facing when installing image-based distros onto your legacy machines. Those distros including LibreELEC Kodi, Batocera, and so on. So a way to tell is an image-based distro is by looking at the end of the file extension. They're normally ending with ing.gz. To improve your working experience, feel free to turn on the subtitle, increase the video speed, or jump to the section you would like to watch. So without further ado, let's get started. Normally people will download the distro from their website and put it on their computer, just like this, and then they fire up Rufus and start burning that to an external USB drive. Once that's done, you chuck that into your legacy machine, just like what I'm showing you there. Let's call that USB 1 for now. And then you fire up your computer as usual, and then you go through the boot and installation process as usual, which so far so good. You don't have any issue. Everything seems to install smoothly, and at the end of the installation you restart the machine, and hopefully you can go to the next section and configure your distro and finish the setup. However, you encounter this no boot disk. So what's going on there? In order to find out the root cause of this issue, we need some tools to help us, which is the GParted. That's the tool we need today to help us to identify the problem. So you can go to that website, download the ISO, and then you fire up Rufus again and burn that to another USB drive. So just like what I'm showing you in the picture, let's call that USB 2 for now. And you start up your machine just like before, and you press F12 to select the boot device. This time we select the GParted USB drive to boot it from, and you hit enter all the way, and then which will take you to this screen. That's the partition manager, and let's bring up the disk menu so you can see we have 3 disks. The first one is the internal drive, which we install the LibreELEC onto. The other 2 disks are the external USB drives. So let's bring up some information of the disks. So as you can see, the disk is actually formatted as GPT partition, and then the disk flag is actually legacy_boot. So that's one indication that's formatted as a GPT partition. So we can look at the other USB drive, which has the installation LibreELEC information. There is actually formatted as GPT partition as well. So, and you can look at the flag, also has the similar flag selected. And so the problem is has been already identified. So what's the solution to these problems? So that's simple. So all we need to do is to use a jumpstart USB drive, which can be as small as like a 1 gig or 2 gig to start with. So and then we chuck that into your computer for now, and then you fire up your Rufus, and then you select the syslinux 6.04 to start with. That's your boot manager. So once you select that, and then chuck your USB key in, as I said before, the size is just about 1 or 2 gigs should be enough, but I have a slightly larger USB drive for this demo, like a 32 gig one. So let's start with the label and click start and start the creation of the boot disk. So once it's done, you track that into your legacy machine again as usual. Let's call it a USB 3 this time, and then you power the legacy machine on and press F12 again. So now you select the GParted disk just like before and hit enter all the way until you see this screen. So let's move it over a bit. As you can see that there are 3 disks now. The third one is actually the external USB, which containing the syslinux 6.04 boot manager. So now let's fire up the command prompt and enter some commands. So the command we're going to enter is to mount the internal drive boot partition to a folder and mount the other USB drive to a folder, so we can see the files on those drive, and then we can copy some file over as well. So in Linux, that's not straightforward. It's not like Windows. You plug it right in, you can see the information, all the files. But on a Linux, it's not that straightforward. You have to create a folder, and then you have to mount those partitions to a folder for the folders. So that's what I just did there. So we create 2 folders and then mount the devices to those folders, so we can see the files on those drive. Now we list to a long list for the external USB drive, so we can see what the files on that after we finish creating that drive. And then now we just need to copy some files from the internal drive to the external. So let's do copy dash capital R, so which will copy all the files and folders to the from the internal drive to the external USB drive. So it's a pretty quick process. And once we're done, we want to see what files actually on the drive now. So the external USB drives now contain these files, additional files, including the syslinux.config and some kernel files as well. So let's look at what's actually inside the syslinux.config, and which actually containing some important boot information. So which is including the drive UID and the boot UID as well. So those informations actually from this information you can collect or review from the partition. The second disk UUID is actually from the main partition, as I show you there, and that's pretty straightforward. And let's restart the PC now and see whether we can boot from the internal hard drive. Now you press F12 again, so to get into the boot menu, and now this time we select the external syslinux boot manager, and then as you can see, it's starting up no problem, and it actually put up the drive and just call the boot partition on the internal hard drive, so which is called a jump start. Now you can boot the internal drive without any issues. So that's how we solve our problem. Pretty easy. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how you can solve the other issue. So the other issue is actually some legacy machine you can only boot from MBR partitioned. So as you can see there, this Batocera demo is actually booting from a MBR partition. So there's a little bit more work you need to do with this, so I'm not going to show you in this video. I will create another video and which will show you all the steps to go through and how you can install this distro onto MPR partitions. So thanks for watching, and if you liked the video and it did help you to fix your problem, please click the like button, and thanks all the way to finish this video, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks so much.